If you're looking for the best places to visit in Minsk, then this video is for you. I'm going to cover 5 must-visit locations you can't miss once you're in the capital of Belarus. And the first place in our list is Glavpashtamt, or the main post office of Belarus. I would call it a museum with free entry, and at the same time where you can virtually get acquainted with the whole Belarus. A little later I will tell you why this is so. This building was constructed right after the war, and the construction was carried out without the use of cranes and special equipment. You can see natural stone, high-quality plaster and stucco details. Under the dome hangs a chandelier that weighs about half a ton. It is made of bronze and rock crystal. However, the main decoration is 15 stained glass windows portraying the monuments of Belarusian architecture of the 11th 18th centuries. These stained glass windows were created for the 1980 Olympics and can help you get acquainted with remote corners of Belarus in just a few minutes. The main post office is opened every day, even on Sundays, which is also an interesting feature of Belarus. Many places here are opened every day, even on weekends, which is sometimes difficult to find in many Schengen countries, for example. And our next stop is the National Art Museum. It houses the largest collection of Belarusian art in the world. The National Art Museum of the Republic of Belarus is the largest collection and exposition repository of art objects in the whole country. But it all started back in 1939, when the very first art gallery in Belarus was opened. The exhibits were collected from museums all over Belarus. However, during the Great Patriotic War, a huge number of exhibits were taken out of the country. But already in 1957, the National Art Museum itself was opened. And as the collections are added to year after year, an additional building was opened in 2007. Today you can also have a cup of coffee in an art cafe and enjoy an exhibition of paintings or films about Belarusian art. By the way, the museum participates every year in the International Night of Museums event, and in addition to free entrance, it organizes a whole program with music and shows. It is also a favorite place for photo shoots of local ladies. Wedding photo shoots are also often held here. By the way, it is not recommended to visit the museum in outer clothes. That is why there is a cloak room on the ground floor, and cloak rooms in Belarus are almost always free, which may surprise guests from most countries of the world. And next, I will show you the visiting card of Belarus. This is a national library. The building is shaped like a diamond, and on the roof of this diamond there is one of the highest observation platforms in Minsk. The view of the city is amazing, especially in summertime, and you can see how green Minsk is. But the library building itself is also very interesting. Firstly, next to the entrance to the building there is a bronze figure of the Belarusian first printer Francisc Scarina. The main entrance is symbolically made in the form of an open book with images on the development of World and Slavonic writing, as well as words from the Bible of Francisc Scarina. You will also be able to visit the art gallery. When I was there was an exhibition dedicated to Belarusian children who fought the disease. And you can have a delicious meal in a local cafe with a stunning view of the capital of Belarus. The library is also a platform for various events. For example, I was invited as a media representative by the Embassy of Pakistan in Minsk to the opening of an exhibition of Pakistani artists. Ambassadors of various countries were invited to the opening ceremony, as well as Sergei Anatolievich Rachkov himself, diplomat, deputy of the National Assembly of the Republic of Belarus on International Affairs and National Security. He was also an international observer at the US elections in 2004 and 2012. So check the schedule of events in the library and you may be able to get to one of the foreign exhibitions in Belarus too. And next, we will go with you to the National Academic Great Opera and Ballet Theater. The theater even survived the war and was reconstructed several times after its end. The theater building itself will definitely surprise you with its scale. The interior is decorated with natural stones and red velvet. Also today, the main stage of the theater is a real transformer and can change depending on the program. Also, in addition to watching the performance, you have a fantastic opportunity to get a behind-the-scenes look at the life of the theater on a guided tour. But in this part, I will also give you one more place as a bonus. Most tourists know about the Great Theater, but there are other, less famous, but not less interesting theaters in Minsk. For example, now you can see how I was with my colleague Svetlana at a performance at the Theater of the Belarusian Army. By the way, in the theater, it is customary to drink champagne or cognac during the break or before the performance. It's already like a tradition among the audience. And on that evening, the actors showed how selflessly Belarusian women fought during the Great Patriotic War. By the way, in Belarus, the theme of the Great Patriotic War is very, very important. If you understand Russian a little, you will feel it after a couple of days in our country. And continuing the theme of war, I'm going to tell you an interesting fact. The world's very first museum dedicated to the Second World War was opened exactly in Minsk. And that's our last place on the list. Today, the museum is one of the most significant and largest museums on the planet, along with the richest collections in Moscow, Kiev, and New Orleans. During those terrible years, Belarus lost every third inhabitant. About 3 million people died, including almost 50,000 partisans. There were 250 death camps on the territory of the country, including the infamous Trastinets, one of the largest after Oswiecim. And now you see how many people have been killed in my hometown. In the museum you can also see the paintings of Mikhail Savitsky, Belarusian and Soviet artist who dedicated his paintings to the theme of the Great Patriotic War. Museum exhibits will immerse you in the atmosphere of that time and tell you in detail about how people lived in wartime. The museum is open Tuesday through Sunday from 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. The entrance ticket for an adult costs only 11 rubles. And the reason I decided to include this place in the list is that without the lessons of the past, it is difficult for us to build a peaceful today. And without visiting this museum, it will be difficult for you to understand the soul of the Belarusian people, especially in today's challenging times. But if you want to go deeper into the history of Minsk, go to the video on the screen where I showed you the oldest market in Minsk.